On a cold winter night in suburban Sydney, a man vanished without a trace. He would be found weeks later, his body hidden deep in bushland, with signs of unspeakable torture on his body. In the space of 6 days, a vicious cascade of violence swept through the city. Kidnappings, brutal punishments, and an attempted murder, all tied to the shadowy contract crew, an organisation at the heart of Australia's drug underworld. This is the chilling story behind one of the most shocking gang-related murders in recent memory. The murder of Dylan Choup. Dylan Choup, also known as Rich Choup, was 32 at the time of his passing. Although detailed information on Dylan's life is limited, we do know that he was involved with a dangerous contract crew working under a Victorian drug trafficking syndicate. His association placed him at the centre of a brutal series of violent incidents in July 2024, which ended with his murder. But who were this gang? The contract crew was made up of a group of offenders working under contract, allegedly for a drug trafficking syndicate. They operated across state lines, carrying out brutal acts, including kidnapping, torture and attempted murder. Ultimately, Dylan would find himself in the crosshairs of this crew. Police believe the crew was asked to enforce the syndicate's interests, likely responding to internal disputes within the organisation over missing drugs or money. Dylan was considered an employee of this syndicate, so we know he played some role in supporting them, but specific details of that role have never been made clear. However, Dylan would have known the violent world he was entering when he joined the organisation. The gang used stolen and cloned vehicles for their operations, and most of the members seemed to be of Asian and Pacific Islander descent. In the days leading up to Dylan's murder in July 2024, violence spiralled across New South Wales and Queensland in a short period. This contract crew was not playing around, they moved quickly and decisively. Beginning on July 19th, the escalation started with the kidnapping of a 31-year-old man in Canley Vale. During his captivity, the victim was subjected to extreme torture, including the severing of part of his ear. Shortly after, the violence intensified further as the crew targeted a man in Queensland. In an exceptionally savage attempt to eliminate him, he was shot through the eye and then buried alive. Remarkably, this victim managed to survive and escape. The 23-year-old, covered in dirt and dressed in all black, stumbled into a Queensland service station on Tambourine Street in Jimboomba before collapsing on July 21st. The man had asked staff not to call the emergency services, but they went against his wishes when he collapsed. He was taken to the hospital, and it became clear he had been shot in one eye, with a bullet lodged in his brain. The dirt covering him suggested he had been buried alive, only to crawl out of his grave and make an escape. He was lucky to survive. These acts occurred within just 6 days, clearly show mounting tension, power struggles, and possible disputes within the drug trafficking syndicate. The use of such violent and shocking tactics, including high-profile abductions and mutilations, shows how brutal this organisation could be. This is the time when Dylan Choup himself became the focus of the gang's disciplinary actions, as evidenced by CCTV footage on July 25th. This series of interconnected violent attacks was likely related to internal crackdowns sparked by missing drugs, money, or breaches of trust. These were punishments or examples to set for others within their network. The geographical spread and coordinated timing of these incidents show how connected and organised this contract crew could be. Police investigations, led by the New South Wales Homicide Squad under Strikeforce Hallett, have been working to unravel these interconnected crimes, pointing to a violent cycle of intimidation, torture and retaliation culminating in Dylan's murder. Dylan Choup was reported missing on July 29th, 2024, after last being seen on July 25th in Cabramatta, dressed in a bucket hat and holding an iced drink, where CCTV footage captured an encounter between him and another gang member, a man wearing a black tracksuit with a pair of white Asics. Around 6:25 PM, Dylan was seen being reprimanded and slapped by an unknown man on Railway Parade. Dylan had told his friends to wait while he had a meeting, but then he and the man who slapped him head off towards a grey Audi SQ2, which was also used in the Canley Vale assault days earlier. Dylan was never seen again. His disappearance raised immediate concern, especially given the violent context surrounding the group he was involved with. About a month later, on August 31st, 2024, Dylan's remains were discovered by trail bike riders in bushland off Heathcote Road at Lucas Heights. Police established a crime scene, and a post-mortem revealed that Dylan had been fatally shot. In a gruesome detail consistent with the gang's torture method, part of his right ear was severed, similar to earlier torture incidents. Despite the horrific violence, cooperation from victims has been limited, complicating police efforts. Investigators believe the gang is still operating within Australia, and authorities continue to seek public assistance for identifying suspects connected to these crimes. This all started when a significant methamphetamine shipment disappeared from a Melbourne stash house, according to underworld sources. The Victorian drug syndicate, notorious for smuggling methamphetamine concealed in tea packets from Myanmar, reportedly discovered the missing stash in 2024. A prominent Melbourne figure quickly suspected Dylan Choup of orchestrating the theft while his team was handling a large drug delivery, around 50 kilograms of methamphetamine. In response, this figure allegedly enlisted 2 biker gang prospects in Melbourne to abduct and rob anyone linked to Choup, forcibly stripping them of their drugs and money. Many associates were kidnapped from their own families and subjected to horrific assaults, including having their faces slashed. Yet, none of the victims came forward or cooperated with authorities. It's no surprise that the organisation acted so decisively. The methamphetamine trade is big business, and it's a lot of money to lose. In 2024, methamphetamine seizures in Asia surged by 24%, reaching a record 236 tonnes, with Southeast Asia accounting for 85% of these seizures, according to a United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report. Benedict Hoffman, their acting regional representative, said that while these seizures highlight successful law enforcement efforts, they also reveal unprecedented levels of methamphetamine production and trafficking from the Golden Triangle region, particularly Myanmar's Shan state. Victoria Police, cooperating with the Australian Federal Police, seized 622 green and gold tea packets of methamphetamine hidden in sea cargo arriving from Malaysia last year. The tea packet packaging is common in the trade, as criminals have used these distinctive designs for over a decade to signal the drug's purity and source. In 2022, the AFP also seized more than 2 tonnes of methamphetamine, with an estimated street value exceeding $1 billion, underscoring the scale and sophistication of regional trafficking networks. Detective Superintendent Joseph Duehi, commander of the homicide squad, stated that police believe Choup worked as an operative for the Victorian syndicate, but fell foul of them for reasons still unclear. "We don't have the exact details. That's part of our ongoing investigation and appeal to the public to determine the precise motive," he explained. "It could relate to missing drugs or money. If I were to speculate, that would be the likely cause." He described the violence involved as an absolute high level, and expressed regret at the severity of the brutality displayed. Dylan left behind a family who started a GoFundMe which raised $41,000 before it stopped accepting donations. The page's organiser made no mention of Mr. Choup's cause of death or links to criminal activities. The page said, "We are deeply saddened at the loss of our beloved friend, father and son, Dylan Choup, who has tragically passed away. Taken far too soon, Dylan leaves behind his loving partner and 7-month-old baby boy. This is a devastating time for all, but particularly for his family. Anyone who had the privilege to meet Dylan will know he had a huge heart and always puts others before himself. He was the glue to many, committed to bringing all those around him together. His compassion, loyalty, generosity, humour and positive energy will never be forgotten. Together as a community, we can show his partner and their baby that they are not alone during this difficult journey and help them adjust to their new life." The investigation remains active. Police released CCTV footage showing several vehicles such as the grey Audi SQ2, a white Lexus and a white Audi RS3, all linked to the suspects. 2 males seen moving these vehicles before and after Dylan's disappearance are wanted for questioning. Authorities are appealing to the public to identify those involved as quickly as possible, given the likely interstate criminal ties and gang hierarchy that led to Dylan's murder. For now, this brings us to the end of the case. I'll make sure to keep my eye on any developments. If you want more stories from the Australian underworld, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out and helps the channel grow. Till next time, take care.